feel like punching somebody in the face when they say Happy Monday? I do. But sometimes I just say Happy Monday. Sometimes I'm feeling obnoxiously optimistic, and I think this is one of those days. Well, this is the first video in the new Reborn Boring Dad Lectures Mark II, I guess you could call it. And I have a ton of subjects that I want to talk to you guys about. But I think that I wanted to unpack an idea, a lesson that I learned the hard way just over this last week or so. And it's about accepting people where they are. I think that in our social media age, it's easy to get pulled into the trap of making snap judgments and thinking that, your opinion for some reason is valid and that people need to hear it. Because the bar for entry into a conversation these days is, basically functioning cognitive ability, a smartphone, and thumbs. And then, boom, you can enter into a conversation. And on my part, I have been like a psychology, philosophy hobbyist for years because I'm, a little bit nuts. So I've read all the books. I've read so many books on, cognitive therapy, and I've read all the self-help books, and if there's a class on the great courses about psychology or philosophy, I've probably taken it. And there's so many lectures on YouTube. I spend hours and hours and hours just poring over this kind of stuff, right? And you know what that qualifies me to do? Fuck all. Because I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an anythingist. I'm a therapist, psychiatrist, nothing. I'm a fucking dude who read a bunch of shit. I haven't been trained. And when you have that kind of information, you may be very highly educated and very, very well informed and very well read and fantastically intelligent, and that's all great. But there are aspects of the human psyche and aspects of the human soul that shouldn't be touched unless you know exactly what you're doing, you wouldn't go read everything that you possibly could about, brain surgery and then cut up in somebody's head and be like, oh, look at that, Doesn't seem like a good idea. But more importantly is learning how to accept people where they are. And that's been the hardest thing for me. And what I realized this week is that despite the fact that I've spent so much time, studying all these subjects, what I realize is that one of my tendencies is a throwback to my evangelical days. And what I mean is that in the evangelical church, in evangelical thinking and Christian thinking in general, there's this idea that everybody outside the church is going to burn in hell. And that you, as an evangelical, as a Christian, have a duty, you have a responsibility to get out there and tell people the good news of Jesus. Because if you don't, they're going to burn in hell, and it's going to be your fault. And even though you're going to be in heaven, you're still going to be somehow looking at all those people who went to hell and having some kind of guilt over it. This is a very confusing theology. Mostly because it's bullshit, but, it's a different subject. But having been an evangelical for so long, there's still a part of me that still wants to do that. Because evangelicalism, by its very nature, is narcissistic. Because you think that you have this special access to God, and Jesus did this special thing, and you believed it, and now you're saved, and blah blah blah. So you tend to view the world through this narcissistic filter. And that's not healthy. And what I'm finding is the further I get away from my Christian roots and the deeper I get into my deconversion process, the more like little things like that I'm finding that are still in place. So when I meet somebody, having this like body of knowledge of psychology and philosophy and all these other sorts of things, and I see somebody and I see what they're going through, that narcissistic filter still comes up. And I think, oh, they need to hear what I have to say because I'm going to save them from whatever the fuck. But the reality is that, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Because you know what? It's just like, within Christianity, like if in true Christianity, if you're following the teachings of Christ, then when somebody is ready, then whatever it is that they need to hear will be unfolded to them. If they want to go seek, then they can go seek. It doesn't, like when Jesus says, knock and the door will be open to you, ask and it will be answered, seek and you will find. He's not saying go and find people and show them the fucking door to knock on. He's not saying go and tell people the questions to ask. He's not saying go and find people and just like tell them the answer. That's not what that's about. Because when somebody's on their own journey, they have to naturally come to a place where they want to ask a question, where they want something to unfold to them. And that's part of the diabolical nature of evangelicalism. Why it's so dangerous. What I learned this week is that while it's okay to have this, fantastic body of knowledge, so many things that I've studied and learned, and whatever experiences are that you have too, that because we all have these sorts of experiences, right? We all have our experience. We all have the things that we've studied, and we may be very, very well read on these kinds of things. And you may even be a licensed psychologist or a therapist or like whatever it is. But that still doesn't give you the right to go offer unsolicited opinions. Because when you do that, what you're telling people, what the evangelicals are telling people, is that you're not good enough. You're not as good as me. You're not as smart as me. Like, I see all these problems in you. And it's like the pinnacle of narcissism and egoism. And I was like, that's just like a gross thing to do to somebody. What makes it really bad is when you do it, and you think that you're helping. So the thing that I learned this week is the importance of just accepting people where they are, regardless of where they are. I thought I was doing it, I've come a long way in my journey away from Christianity and from conservatism. I've gotten to a point where I can meet somebody who is gay or transgender or wherever, which is a hard thing for me to, it was a hard thing for me to get to that place, coming from the conservative mindset. Or I just meet somebody just where they are, I'd be like, oh, here you are, welcome, friend, and not place any judgments or ask any questions or anything like that about them, and just accept them where they are that way. But for some reason, I still struggle with, wanting to add, I just don't want to psychoanalyze, I want to look at all this kind of stuff. And even though I think in some areas I've made a lot of progress in the ability to just accept people where they are, I've only just scratched the surface. And I think one of the things that we need the most in the world right now is maybe to get to a place where we can kind of all do that. I don't know. I'm not sure what the right answer is. Because the only thing that I can do is adjust my own behavior. I mean, the only thing that any of us can do is adjust our own behavior. And I think that doing everything that we can to approach the world from a place of love and compassion and understanding, and respecting the fact that everybody's on their own path. And you may have a whole bunch of stuff to offer, but unless somebody asks for it, it's probably best to just keep it to yourself. Anyway, love some thoughts and feedback. Love you guys. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you have a good week. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.